Gentlemen, right here I'm wearing a very rare vintage watch from Mercedes Benz. Yeah, you heard that correctly. This is a very rare vintage watch from the early 2000s that was only produced for a handful of years. As far as I'm aware of, this video that you're watching right now is the first and only video ever made about this watch right here. As far as I'm aware of as well, this doesn't even have a reference number. It just has a very long name. But let's not waste any more time and let's get into this very rare and interesting watch from Mercedes Benz. I've looked at the warranty papers, I've looked at the user manual, I've searched on the Mercedes website. I also looked at eBay listings that still have these watches for sale. There is not a reference number, but what there is about this watch is its very long name, which is Mercedes Benz Classic Art Deco Retro Car Accessory Swiss made automatic watch. Yeah, that is the watch's full name, but for short I'm going to call it Classic Art Deco. The next thing that I'm about to show you are the specifications of the watch, and they are super interesting. This watch has an ETA 2824-2 Swiss made automatic movement with 25 joules in it. The watch has a 36-hour battery reserve and has a tonneau barrel shaped case. The case has a 20mm height and a 39mm case width. The watch is made out of stainless steel with a polished case finish. The dial has a white guilloche finish with Roman numerals and a sapphire glass. On the back it has an exhibition glass case back to show off the movement, and the watch also has a 50-meter water resistance. The watch is produced in the early 2000s for only a handful of years, and the watch is also shockproof and made in Germany. So as you can see, gentlemen, this watch is really good, considering that it comes from a car brand such as Mercedes Benz and was produced in the early 2000s. A brand like Mercedes Benz isn't known for making watches because they create cars. Why would they ever care about watches? And that is a mystery, even for myself. I think it's very weird, but at the same time very interesting, mainly because no one really knows about this watch. I didn't know about the watch until I found it on Facebook Marketplace and actually decided to pick it up after doing a little bit of research what the watch actually contains. It has a Swiss automatic movement, has 25 joules, 36 hours of power reserve, and it has this very beautiful white guilloche dial, which I think is super appealing, elegant, timeless, and super well made. I think it's a very beautiful and classic looking watch, and considering that Mercedes-Benz made this watch, it is stunning. Talking about the price, I picked this watch up for a mere $100 off of Facebook Marketplace, and when you look at the listings on eBay, it'll go for everything between $350 all the way up to $950. It all depends on if you could actually fit the watch and if you like the design of it. But specifically, if you actually want to own a vintage watch from Mercedes-Benz, for that price you could go for a Tissot or an Orient or a Seiko for that matter. So it really depends if you want to wear a very rare vintage watch from Mercedes-Benz and if it actually fits and suits you. And talking about that, there are a few things that I dislike about the watch. One of them is that it looks very bulky, especially when you wear it for the first time. The case height of 20mm looks even bigger in person when you're wearing it, and the 39mm case width actually looks pretty big as well. It's not like wearing a Seiko tank for the first time that might look a little big considering it has a rectangular shape, but this has this very interesting barrel shape, which not only is very wide but it's also very long. So if you have small wrists, this watch would be an absolute no-go. I also have a small wrist, but the more I wear this watch, the more I have grown to like it. But it doesn't really look that big on my wrist anymore. But but all things considered, this is still actually a pretty big watch. So if you want something smaller, I will definitely go for something else. But if you have slightly bigger wrists, I think this could be an incredibly unique and cool watch for you to wear, because it is slightly big, but at the same time it looks so timeless, elegant, and in my opinion super masculine leaning. So if you want something that is very unique and somewhat rare, I think this could be a watch just for you. Another thing that I dislike about this watch is the crown. The crown here is incredibly difficult to operate. I unfortunately needed to use a pair of tweezers in order to loosen out the crown so I could change the time and date of the watch, which is super impractical. And whenever you're winding the watch, the winding mechanism itself is very difficult to operate and to manage, because the crown is so sturdy inside of the watch. I think it's very poor design, but if that isn't anything that you worry about, then it isn't really a con. But personally, I think the crown was very annoying to operate and deal with. Let's look at the things that I like about this watch. The tonneau barrel design of the case is bulky, don't get me wrong, it's very difficult to wear, especially for people like myself with smaller than average wrists, but I really like how it looks, and it's certainly eye-catching. It's a unique type of case design because it's not very common. Also, I love this ivory white guilloche dial, especially with the texture in the middle where the Mercedes Benz logo is placed. I really like the small details up close, but I also just like the overall Roman numerals. I think it's stunning, especially from Mercedes Benz. I can't stress enough how impressed I am of the design choices and the overall looks of the watch. Also, 36 hours of battery reserve with 25 joules inside a Swiss-made automatic movement. That's pretty impressive. So let's move over to my final opinion and rating of this super interesting and unique watch from Mercedes Benz. Gentlemen, my final opinion and rating of this super interesting Mercedes Benz retro vintage watch. Let's talk about it. Well, I am very surprised of this watch, and not only that, I'm very surprised about no one ever talking about this watch ever. There's not a single video, review, article about this watch whatsoever. I think it's a shame because it is such a beautiful watch. Not only does it have 25 joules, a Swiss-made automatic movement that has a 36-hour battery reserve, and also an exhibition glass case back so you can actually see the movement from the back of the watch, and it has such a beautiful design. That is what I think about it. I think it's a stunning piece of a watch right here. I'm still insanely surprised that a brand like Mercedes-Benz was ever capable of creating such a beautiful and unique watch with such a beautiful white dial as well. What I haven't talked about though is the bracelet, and I haven't done that because when you look at the listings on eBay, there is always a different bracelet, and that is because this watch is over 20 years old. The inside of my strap that I have here is slowly deteriorating, which I think is very sad, but again, this strap doesn't really matter. You can just change it for something else. I haven't quite decided if I'm going to sell this watch for a massive profit or if I'm going to keep it and just change it out for a stainless steel bracelet. I think that would look amazing. I just think it's slightly too big for my smaller than average wrists, and I think it's going to be slightly difficult to wear at times, but I think again it's a stunning watch. And Mercedes-Benz, if you ever see this video, please start making watches like this again, especially with a movement of this caliber right here. In terms of immense improvement rating, I have given this an 8.4 out of 10. If you can pull it off with your size of wrists, I think this could be a watch that you will be very happy about and you'd enjoy for a very long time for sure. Gentlemen, what do you think of my video about this very unknown but very rare vintage Mercedes-Benz watch? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Did you enjoy the video? Then smash the like button button if you did. What are your thoughts about this watch? Comment down below. I would be more than happy to see what you have to say down there. Also, subscribe to the Men's Improvement YouTube channel for more videos about fragrances, grooming, style, fashion, skincare, fitness, watches, everything that will make you, gentlemen, the best possible versions of yourselves. The last few things that I want to ask you, gentlemen, is to smile more because it's free, and I want you to watch these two videos right here. This one here below is going to be my latest upload. The rest, this one up here is going to be video that the YouTube algorithm thinks you will enjoy.